At the top of this hour, let's start with this. The Transport Minister, Fikile Mbalula, is expected to address the taxi industry in Cape Town. It follows a deadly taxi war over routes. More than 20 people were killed since the dispute between Cata and Codeta started. eNCA's Roland Masinda is following developments and joins us live now for an update from Cape Town. Ronald, thank you. So the taxi wars, for the past few weeks, we saw that, in fact, last week, we saw that resolution by the MEC in the Western Cape to temporarily suspend all operations on those disputed routes. I see there are soldiers behind you. Is that part of the measures? And I see a police nyala somewhere in the distant background. Are those part of the measures that have been put in place to ensure that there's no violation of this order by the Western Cape Transport MEC?
Yes, indeed, Tula. So where are you coming from? We are coming from a Belleville taxi rank. I can tell you last week that this taxi rank was an absolute ghost town where there were not a single taxi was in operation. But what we are seeing today is that operations have resumed. We are seeing quite a heavy army, police and law enforcement presence here near the Belleville taxi rank. But what we're also seeing on the far left are taxis from Cata Boland. Those are the taxis that have been grounded, that are not allowed to operate along Paarl and Belleville. This, as the Western Cape MEC for Transport has been saying that they needed to close that route for a couple of months, given the extent of the killings. There have been a number of deadly killings at this specific taxi rank alone. And in as much as the taxi industry has been affected by this, but also innocent bystanders, commuters traveling here, have also been shot in the crossfire. We're also going to speak now to the business people here at the Belleville taxi rank. Sisi Asanda boy, sabulela ngexesha lakho sisi. Sisi nibuyele ngoku ku business benivalile. Uqhubeka ntoni ngoku niziva njani since sibona amapolisa nearmy?
Sizibona sisafe kasibona uarmy namapolisa bhuti wami.
Ngoku ngasichaphazele mhlambi ngeziganeko ezikhe zaqhubeka apha since nina nisebenza abantu bedubulana.
Apha omnye wethu waye wadutyulwa apha eMpundu sesisebenza namsebenzi ngenxa into yobana ngaba ababhuti into abayenzayo basuke badubule anytime xa befuna udubula and abasixelele bangabaza kwenza nto ngoku baye badubule nanini na.
Ngoku wena since uphangela apha uqhube for ixesha elingakanani elishishini lakho and unayo enye choice mhlambi yoyeka elishishini since udutyulana?
Apha bhuti ndiqhube for 6 years anaye enye choice, anaye enye indlela enokusebenza ngayo because kudala ndifaka ama-CV ande ndifumane umsebenzi. So ndiyanyamezela kunjalo because kuye kudutyule sometimes ube ne-decision uba ngaba uphinde ulalele because isisu sona sikwazi uthetha.
Alright, so ngokuvalelisa nicinga ke ngoku if ingasuswa i-army lanuka namapolisa apha zingaqhubeka eziganeko?
Singaqhubeka kakhulu bhuti wami because iqala ukwenzeka ezi ziganeko ziba khona abe khona amapolisa immediately amapolisa emka okanye uba yi-3 months kwenziwa dusha after 3 months kuyaphinde kuyaqalela again.
Alright, sabulela ixesha lakho. Tell us, Usisi Asanda boy telling us that for them they wish that the army and the police remain here because what they are saying is that they've seen this happen before. 3 months of police and army presence, and then all of a sudden back to square one, more shootings. I mean, we've been reporting about many shootings here at the Belleville taxi rank. I even spoke to quite a number of people from the Cata Boland region saying that, they don't see an end in sight to this violence because they feel bullied by Codeta, the rival taxi association, because they're not allowed to operate in some of the Codeta territories. They also had strong words to say about Minister Fikile Mbalula, saying that they feel that Mr. Mbalula is not in the best interest of the whole taxi industry and that he's only been seen speaking to Codeta. We do know that Mbalula is currently having talks with Codeta bosses now this morning, but we've also been told that he did manage to fight finally speak to Cata association bosses to maybe try and find some common ground as to how they can resolve this issue. We've been reporting that this year alone over 80 people have been killed in taxi-related violence, well over 100 last year, and in the month of July alone, well over 20 people have been gunned down. So this is a serious cause for concern.
Ronald, while you're talking about Minister Mbalula, do we know what the status is of the agreement, the sort of tentative agreement that had been brokered by Zwelinzima Vavi and Bantu Holomisa? Because my recollection is that the two were mentioning that some of the issues that have been agreed upon can only be fulfilled and implemented by government. Is that the basis of engagement that Minister Fikile Mbalula will have with the various warring factions this morning?
Those will be the conversations, but what we've been hearing from both those associations is that they are far from agreeing to any terms. Codeta saying earlier on in our previous crossing that they are happy for a truce agreement, but it seems like Cata are in a disagreement. Cata feels that since one of the main routes has been closed, the one between Apal and Bellville, there will never be a peace agreement between these two rival taxi associations. Now, of course, we also heard from Codeta saying that they were very happy to hear from the likes of Bantu Holomisa and Zwelinzima Vavi, saying that they were saying the right things that should be addressed, but the onus really lies with those in government. Mr. Mbalula in the past has been in engagements with Cata Boland last year, and that was during a time when a number of people were murdered in the Paarl taxi rank, and there seems to be no end in sight to the violence in these areas. So we are hoping by 3 o'clock this afternoon to perhaps hear from Mr. Mbalula as to what are some of the contingency plans in place. Will this be a long-term solution, seeing the army and law enforcement here at the taxi ranks, or will we possibly just see this scene play out just for a couple of weeks or perhaps a couple of months until maybe calm is restored? And the concern then is, what if similar scenes are experienced by many of people who rely on transport here in Bellville and many other taxi ranks across the Cape Metro?
Thank you for that. That's eNCA's Roland Masinda out in Cape Town. They're reporting for us on that situation and as far as the violence in the taxi industry is concerned and the disruptions that it brings across the economy, and that whole sense of not feeling safe for commuters and other people trying to commute to various destinations in that city.